bring into this conversation independent Maine Senator Angus King, who is a member of the Senate Intelligence Committee. Senator, I mean, first, your reaction to this inside account that tracks almost exactly to the testimony of the 17 witnesses in the impeachment investigation.
Well, first, Nicolle, I want to congratulate you on the new program.
Thank
you. When I'm talking to my grandchildren, forget senator, governor. It's going to be, I was on the premiere of Nicolle Wallace's new show. I mean, this is a big deal.
That's too kind. Thank you.
No, I read that piece this morning, and my immediate reaction was, it's totally believable.
Yeah.
That's what's really sad about it. And this is somebody who was literally in the room where it happened. He saw it and heard it. And I think, Nicolle, it goes to a deeper problem here, and that is that this is a man who's never had anyone say no to him in his life, and he never was accountable to anybody. My son asked me a couple of years ago, did he have a board of directors on his company in New York? And I said, I don't think so. It was a family-owned company. Here he is. He thinks he's the president, the CEO of America, and it's a family-owned company. He can't stand any kind of opposition, a judge, the Congress, cabinet members that speak out. He can't tolerate that. He thinks he's going to run everything out of his hip pocket. And what worries me, and I saw your previous interview, and I've said this to privately to some of my Republican colleagues, because he seems to have no limits, I worry about what might happen between now and November, given the fact that it appears that he may well lose this election. I worry about something he could do that would be truly dangerous. Messing around, monkeying with the post office, sabotaging the census and the post office, that's bad enough. But I got to tell you, and I'm not going to speculate on what it is, but it's what really keeps me awake at night.
Well, I won't press you to speculate on what it is, but I'd like for you to reassure our viewers what could be done about it, because I think there is a real sense that no one can stop him, that Mueller tried and failed, that the impeachment process was a noble effort, but ultimately Republicans didn't even want to hear from a right-winger's right winger, and John Bolton in that process failed. And he's only emboldened every time he runs against a guardrail and steamrolls right over it.
Well, that's a legitimate question. And here's the problem, Nicolle. Congress can do some things. We can hold hearings. We can try to hold people to account, put people under oath, cut off the funding. But ultimately, there's a reason that it's called the administration. They're in charge of administering the laws. And there's a huge amount of sort of flexibility. And what we're seeing with the post office, he puts his friends on the board, they choose a Republican donor, and, he's sabotaging the post office. Can you imagine taking away mailboxes?
Well, let me press you.
Mail sorting machines. I mean, it's just unbelievable, and it's both malicious and incompetent, which is a bad combination.
So, Congressman Jeffries and Lieu have have asked the FBI to look into whether the two statutes I read have been violated, basically slowing or hindering or interfering with mail, which Donald Trump seems to be doing on his Twitter feed, in which the pictures that have popped up organically over the last few days confirm is being done. I mean, would you join your Democratic colleagues in the House in calling on FBI Director Wray to open a criminal investigation?
Well, I think it should be looked into. I don't know if I'm ready to go as far as to say a criminal investigation, but I think there should be some discussion of exactly what's going on. I mean, if you or I went out and pried somebody's mailbox off the wall of their house, that's a crime. And so to pry mailboxes out of the city streets, and particularly if it appears that the intent is to keep people from exercising their right to vote. That's what's so heartbreaking about this, is trying to put people in a position where they have to choose between their health or being able to exercise their constitutional right to vote. That's just unconscionable. So the answer is, I think it does bear investigation. And if it's found that these changes are being made for impermissible political reasons, it should be pursued. The post office is not a business. The Army doesn't turn a profit. The Department of Agriculture doesn't turn a profit. the post office serves the entire country, and it serves, particularly, I'm from a rural state, it serves low-income and elderly people and veterans in rural areas. That it doesn't make economic sense, but that's what that's the whole idea of the post office. That's why it was in the Constitution. It's a fundamental part of our national infrastructure, and I've never seen anything like this. And there may be issues. We can argue about what the right package rate should be and all of those kinds of things, but not in the middle of a pandemic, not in the middle of an election. That's just I was born last night, or I was born at night, but it wasn't last night. I mean, this is ridiculous.
I want to ask you about the broader effort, because the assault on the post office and the weaponization through his political megadonor there running what Donald Trump has long spoken publicly about wanting to do is just a piece of a constellation that's now very clear. He said in an interview that he won't go quietly. He's been attacking the mail-in vote, which is politically moronic. Some people that mail in their ballots might be people that would vote for him and other Republicans.
Including him.
Right, including him.
He's voting by me.
What do you do where maybe there aren't laws being broken, but certainly harm being done to, I mean, the peaceful transfer of power is a hallmark of democracies, and we are so far from being the brightest or the most vibrant. We are at the moment one almost without a pulse.
Of all the things that he's done that I disagree with, that I think have been harmful to the country, the undermining of the election and the peaceful transfer of power are the worst. I can remember Government 101 freshman year in college. I literally remember this. The teacher saying, what distinguishes our country from most other countries in the world and in the history of the world is the peaceful transfer of power. And that relies on trust, and it relies on confidence, and it relies on people believing, that the results are what we're told they are by the town clerks all over the country. And to undermine that is really undermining the country. And I think it's the most inexcusable of all of these things. If you recall, in 2000, Al Gore had a good case. He could have pursued that case. There were other things he could have done. He stopped because he said it would hurt the country. Richard Nixon in 1960 said the same thing. There were places where he could have contested the vote in 1960 against John F. Kennedy. Both Gore and Nixon said it would hurt the country to continue this uncertainty, and it would raise people's expectations and potentially lead to violence, and that's against the long-term interests of the country, even though they were giving up the presidency. And what he's doing here, I think, is the deepest and darkest thing of all. And it goes back to what I said before. I don't think he really understands this. I don't think he really understands the importance of the peaceful transfer of power, of public confidence in our electoral process, of rules and guardrails and checks and balances. You got to remember, this is a guy who'd never had any political experience whatsoever until he walked in to the Oval Office almost 4 years ago. He'd never been a city councilman or a mayor or a governor or a dog catcher. And here he is running the largest organization in the world. And I don't think he gets in his gut what this country really is all about and how our system works. And it's very dangerous what he's doing.
Almost 4 years ago, your former colleague, Senator Corker, said that he had not yet displayed the competence or fitness for the office he holds. It's 4 years later. You know how much respect I have for you, but he should have learned by now the job that he holds. I hope we can agree on that point.
Well, yeah, but look at the coronavirus. I think that will go down in history as probably the greatest failure of presidential leadership, with the possible exception of James Buchanan in the lead up to the Civil War in the history of the country. And it was, and we're bearing the costs of it, and it's large ways and small. When I first went to the Senate, Nicolle, when President Obama was in office, I came home and my wife Mary said, "Well, what have you learned? What are you learning down there?" And I said, "One of the things I've learned is it's really important who the president is." Mm-hmm. In all kinds of, not the big ways we all know, but in small ways, who's appointed to various agencies like Postmaster General. And boy, have we learned that this time. And and ironically, many of the people who are being hurt, rural people, elderly people, are the very people that he says and prides himself on representing. Those are the people that are the collateral damage in his efforts to undermine the election and mail-in voting.
Senator Angus King, we will be calling on you early and often over the next 80 days. Thank you for spending some time with us. We're grateful.